I never thought the day would come when my own daughter would call me an embarrassment. Yet that's exactly what happened. On a quiet Thursday afternoon, inside the crowded hallway of the hospital. Before we go further, if stories about love, family, and second chances touch your heart, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. It means more than you think. My name is Margaret Hill, though most people call me Maggie. I'm 61 years old, a retired librarian with more memories than I can count. My daughter Chloe is 27, a bright young woman, confident, well-dressed, and always in a rush to be somewhere else. She's my only child, my miracle baby after years of trying. When she was little, Chloe adored me. We'd spend hours reading bedtime stories, baking cookies, and playing in the garden. She'd hold my hand everywhere we went. Back then, I thought our bond was unbreakable. But as she grew older, something shifted. Slowly, the laughter between us turned into silence. She became more conscious of how I looked, how I dressed, even how I spoke. My quiet, old-fashioned ways didn't match her glossy, fast-paced world. Still, I never complained. I was just happy to be in her life, even if it meant being the quiet shadow behind her success. That day, Chloe had agreed to drive me to my doctor's appointment. I'd been feeling dizzy for months, and my joints ached so much that getting out of bed was becoming difficult, but she wasn't happy about taking me. "Mom, can't you just call a cab?" She sighed as she applied her lipstick. "I have a meeting after this. You always schedule these things at the worst times." I smiled, pretending not to notice the irritation in her voice. "I just need a quick checkup, dear. It won't take long." She rolled her eyes but grabbed her car keys anyway. "Fine, but please try not to, talk too much to people. You tend to overshare." Overshare. The word stung. In her eyes, my friendliness had turned into something shameful. When we arrived, the waiting area was full. I walked slowly, clutching my bag and trying not to hold her up. Chloe kept her phone glued to her hand, scrolling through messages while I filled out the forms with trembling fingers. A nurse smiled kindly at me, asking if I needed help. I was about to thank her when Chloe interrupted, whispering sharply, "Mom, please don't make a scene. Everyone's watching." I froze. I hadn't realized that just existing, moving a bit slower, asking for help had become embarrassing to her. The nurse frowned, clearly uncomfortable, but said nothing. When my name was finally called, Chloe followed me inside. The doctor, a gentle middle-aged man named Dr. Patel, greeted me warmly. He'd been treating me for years, so he knew my medical history well. He began flipping through my chart, then looked at Chloe. "I'm glad you came with your mother today," he said. "It's important for family to understand what's going on." Chloe smiled politely, but was already glancing at her phone again. "Of course. I just want to make sure she's okay," she said flatly. Dr. Patel sighed, then looked back at me. "Maggie, your test results came in last week. I wanted to talk to you about them." I nodded nervously. "Is it bad?" He hesitated. "Your condition has progressed faster than we expected. The nerve damage explains the dizziness and weakness. I'm afraid it's now affecting your mobility." Chloe's head finally lifted. "Wait, what? What are you talking about?" The doctor spoke gently. "Your mother has early-onset peripheral neuropathy. It's a degenerative condition, likely genetic, possibly worsened by years of stress and undernutrition." Chloe blinked, clearly confused. "But she looks fine. She just moves slowly because she's old." Dr. Patel shook his head. "It's not age, Chloe. It's damage to her nerves. She's been pushing through the pain for years without telling you." I felt the room grow still. Chloe's face paled and she finally looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in months. I wanted to tell her not to worry, that I was used to it, that the pain was part of my daily rhythm now. But the doctor kept speaking. "She's been coming to me for years for treatment," he said softly. "But she refused to tell you, didn't you, Maggie?" I lowered my eyes. I didn't want her to feel sorry for me. The silence that followed was unbearable. Chloe finally whispered, "You mean All those times I said you were slow or that you were embarrassing me in public. You were actually in pain? I nodded weakly. Her hand trembled as she reached for mine. Why didn't you tell me? Tears welled in my eyes. Because you already had so much on your plate, sweetheart. I didn't want to be another burden. Chloe's voice cracked. You're not a burden, Mom. But the truth was somewhere along the way, she had made me feel like one. Dr. Patel stood quietly, letting the moment settle between us. Sometimes, he said, our parents protect us more than we realize, until we see the whole story. Chloe wiped her eyes, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I smiled faintly. Now you do, love. That's enough. When we left the room, Chloe insisted on holding my arm as we walked down the corridor. People passed by, but she didn't seem to care who was watching anymore. And for the first time in a very long time, I didn't feel like an embarrassment. I felt like a mother again. The drive home that day was quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't come from peace, but from reflection, the kind where every passing streetlight seems to whisper a memory you've tried to forget. Chloe kept glancing at me as she drove, her lips parted as if she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. I looked out the window, watching the city roll by mothers with strollers, teenagers laughing, people hurrying through their own small universes. It felt strange, being part of the world again, but suddenly feeling seen by the one person who had stopped looking at me. When we reached home, she parked the car and turned to me. Mom, why didn't you ever tell me about this? The pain, the tests, everything? I smiled softly. Because, darling, you were just starting your career. You had enough to worry about. I didn't want you to carry my weight, too. Her voice trembled. But I made things harder for you. I complained about driving you. I touched her hand gently. Chloe, you're my daughter. I never blamed you. I just wanted you to be happy. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She covered her mouth and nodded, unable to speak. That night, as I sat in my old armchair, I thought about all the moments we'd lost between us, the missed phone calls, the brief visits that ended with rushed hugs, how easily love had been replaced by convenience. The next morning, I woke to the smell of something unexpected, coffee and toast. I shuffled to the kitchen, my joints stiff, and there she was. My daughter, wearing one of my old aprons, buttering toast like she had when she was 10. Good morning, she said softly, her smile shy, uncertain. Well, I said, chuckling. If I'd known the doctor could do this kind of miracle, I'd have asked for this diagnosis sooner. She laughed through her tears. Don't say that. Over breakfast, she kept asking questions about my medication, my diet, my daily routine. It felt almost surreal, like she was seeing me for the first time, not as someone to manage, but as someone to care for. In the days that followed, she began spending more time at home. She'd drive me to the park, help me shop for groceries, even organize my pills. At first I thought it was guilt, but over time I realized it was love trying to rebuild itself. Slowly, tenderly. One afternoon, she surprised me by opening an old photo album. Remember this? She asked, pointing at a picture of us on the beach, her tiny hand clutching my sun hat as waves crashed behind us. Oh yes, I said with a laugh. You were terrified of the water, but refused to admit it. She smiled. You carried me into the water anyway. You said, if you trust me, I'll never let you fall. Her eyes filled with tears. And you never did. For a moment, time folded back on itself, and there she was, the little girl I once knew, the one who used to press wildflowers into my hands and call me her hero. A week later, Dr. Patel called with updates about my condition. Chloe insisted on joining the call. We're starting new treatments, he explained. It won't cure the nerve damage, but it can help manage the pain and slow the progression. Chloe nodded, determinedly. Whatever it takes, we'll do it. That we meant more than any medicine ever could. As the weeks passed, Chloe began to change in ways I hadn't expected. She'd stop by after work, sometimes just to sit beside me and talk. Other times, she'd bring dinner homemade, though half the time she burned it. Once, as we sat watching the sunset from the porch, she said quietly, "You know, I used to think strength meant pretending you had it all together. But you showed me that real strength is showing up even when it hurts." I looked at her and smiled. "We all learn that eventually, sweetheart. Life has a way of teaching it whether we want to learn or not." She laughed softly. "Well, I had the best teacher." A few months later, Chloe invited me to an award ceremony at her company. She'd been promoted a huge milestone. I hesitated at first, not wanting to slow her down or make her feel self-conscious again, but she wouldn't take no for an answer. On the evening of the event, she helped me dress a soft blue shawl over my simple black dress. "You look beautiful, Mom," she said, tears glimmering in her eyes. At the banquet, she walked beside me, holding my arm proudly as people turned to look. When her name was called, she went up to the stage, and I felt my heart swell with pride, but what she said next left me speechless. As she accepted her award, she looked out at the crowd, then straight at me. "I used to think I was self-made," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "that I got here on my own. But the truth is, the strongest person I've ever known is sitting right there, my mother." The room fell silent. She taught me resilience when she never had much herself. She taught me grace in pain. And I only realized too late how much she sacrificed quietly so I could run while she learned to walk slower. I once called her an embarrassment, but the truth is, I was the one who should have been embarrassed for not seeing her strength sooner. Tears blurred my vision. The applause echoed around us, but all I could see was my little girl standing tall, proud, and finally home. After the ceremony, she came straight to me and hugged me tightly. "You changed my life twice, Mom," she whispered. "Once when you gave it to me, and once when you showed me how to live it with heart." I smiled, holding her close. "That's what mothers do, sweetheart. We keep teaching, even when you think you've outgrown the lessons." That night, as we drove home, I felt the quiet again, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was warm, full. I realized something beautiful. Sometimes love doesn't need grand gestures to be rebuilt. Sometimes it just needs one honest moment, one open heart, and a truth that finally sees the light. And as the city lights blurred through the car window, Chloe reached over, took my hand, and whispered, "I'm proud of you, Mom." I looked at her and smiled through my tears. "Sweetheart," I said softly, "I've always been proud of you too." Because in the end, the real healing wasn't just mine, it was ours.